Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you some really quick and easy earrings to make for Christmas, and it's these little snowmen guys. So this is the earrings, so just some round beads to use in different sizes, and then I put a little hat on them and then made a little scarf on each of them with some wire, and they're really quick and simple to make, so perfect just for a quick Christmas piece of jewellery if you need to. So if you want to learn how to make them, then keep watching. And these are the things that we'll need. Now first off, I'm just going to be using a little bit of wire, and I'm just using a 1mm wire here, and it's just regular round wire. And then also you're going to need some beads. Now in this case I've got some crackle quartz, and it's just obviously like a clear whitish colour to symbolise the snowman. And these are 16mm, the large ones, and then the small ones are 10mm. And obviously you'll need two of each, so one of each goes for each earring. And then also these beads that I have here, these are kind of a bit of a different shape, and I just found these in my stash and thought they'd look really nice as the hats on the snowmen. It's kind of like a bit like a pyramid in steps shape of bead. And these are just hematite beads, but you can use other shapes as well for the hat if you want to add a hat to it, like a cube or something, like a square bead. But obviously you can also leave out the hat completely. And then I have some earring findings that I'm going to attach them to at the end, and jump rings. And then just some head pins here, some flat head pins, just to put everything onto. So get all your things together and then let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is get out your head pin. And this is the head pin with a flat bottom on it, like this. And this particular one is it's a 7cm head pin, so it's pretty long. But the head pin really only needs to be long enough for you to be able to use it with whatever materials that you're using. So what I'm going to do then is get my beads, and this is the largest round one that I'm using first because that's going to be the body. And then I'm going to take my small round one, and these are just clear crackle quartz that I'm using. And then I'm going to take my hat and put on last. So like this, and this is going to be the little snowman with a hat on. And you can obviously use, like I mentioned previously, use other beads for the hat, like a square bead or cube or something. If you have something in your stash that'll be suitable. But then what you need to do now is we need to make a wrap loop at the top that's going to then connect to our earring findings. So to do that, I'm going to get my chain nose or flat nose pliers out, these are chain nose, and then place them so you just have a couple of millimeters space in between the top of your bead and then your pliers like this. And then bend it back at an angle, so it looks like that. And then I'm going to grab I'm just going to be using some 6-step bail making pliers. You don't have to use these, you can also use regular round nose pliers. I just like using these because I make sure that I get the same size loop on both earrings that I'm making. But you can just make sure you use the same space on your round nose pliers. And then place these right above that bend that you made. And then bend the tail end of your piece, of your head pin, back around like this, so it comes back around to the other side, and then you've now made a circle like this, and you can always just adjust it if you need to. And then what we need to do is make a wrap to secure it in place. So I take the end, actually what I'm going to do is, you can use whatever pliers you use to make your loop with, but I like to actually take my chain nose pliers and then place them on my loop like so, and then use them to hold onto my loop, because that'll make sure that my loop stays the shape that I've already made it, but also it holds everything nice and securely. And then I'm going to take the tail and wrap around below here. So making coils, you want to make sure to make them nice and neat. And if your tail gets a bit short, you can take some other pliers. Chain nose pliers are good for this, and help them to wrap around, because it can be a little bit difficult to get your fingers in there. So basically we're filling up that space we left at the beginning with wraps. And then once you've filled it up and you can't get your wire any further, we want to go in and cut off the tail. So for this I'm just going to be using my flush cutters. If you just have wire cutters, that will work as well. And just get right in there and cut off the excess, like so. And now what you'll probably find is you have a bit of wire sticking out. So to tuck that in, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers again and then help that tail getting squeezed right in there, so there's nothing sticking out when you run your finger over it. There's nothing that's going to catch or scratch on anything, because that's really important when you're making pieces to wear. And then if you need to, you can always just go back in and correct your loop if it's gone a bit out of shape, like so. And there we have the basic little snowman ready. Now we just need to add his little scarf. Now for this I'm going to go in and use my 1mm wire, and I've just cut off a length, or if you have some spare wire left, some decent lengths, it's about 20 centimeters long you're going to need, not much more than that. And what I'm going to do with that is make sure it's not too kinked or bent, and then in between his body and his head, so around his neck where your scarf would be, I'm going to place that and then wrap it around to the front like this, and then have them cross over like so. And then what you'll find is it's kind of nice and secure in place, so you don't have to keep hold of your snowman the whole time, like that. So that's the basic wire in place now. And now we just need to form the little shapes to create the look of a scarf. So what I'm going to do is just bring these down a bit, so kind of down the side of his body, and I'm going to get out my chain nose pliers, or you can use flat nose pliers. And then what I'm going to do first is going to do the side that's where the wire comes below the other one, so not the one where it's on top, the one where it's below, and move down a bit, maybe about 1 to 1.5 centimeters. It really all depends how you want it to look. And then put my pliers in there, and then bend the end back so you get an angle like that. You can always adjust the shape a little bit afterwards, it's not the biggest deal right now. And then place your pliers, on the other side here, on the angle that you bent. And then you kind of, if you're using chain nose pliers where they graduate in size like this, you want to place them so the end of your scarf, I'll show you the one I've already made, down here, the end of it, the size in your pliers, how large you want that to be. So I'm going to place it around there and then bend the end back around again to get another angle. You can always play around with this a little bit if you're not 100% happy. Just keep messing with it until you are. So roughly a shape like this. If you want to just a bit more, want a little bit more square, like so. And then what I've done is I've taken that tail back around the front of the piece again, where my tails are anyway. So it's coming back around the top. Now this is the top wire, so I'm going to take that around the back all the way to the other side like this. So that's the 1/2 we've done. And then what I'm going to do to get this tail out of the way is I'm going to go in with my flush cutters again, or wire cutters if you have that, and then cut it down just behind where your scarf is, because then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and squeeze that end in so it's not sticking out and might catch on anything. So the very end of your wire gets hidden behind the scarf basically, and it'll be nice and secure as well. So now to the other side, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, just mirrored obviously. And they don't have to be perfectly even on both sides, I think, because when you think about it, a scarf isn't perfectly symmetrical when you wear it yourself. So just place your pliers again where you want your first bend to be, and then bend your wire back at an angle. Like so. Place your wires after that angle. Place your pliers, sorry, and then bend your wire back again. And that's pretty good, I think. And then again bring the end of your wire around the front of your piece, because then we will do the same thing, bring this all the way around the back around to the same side on the front. I'm going to do the same thing. Take my wire cutters and cut the end of it off, and then that very end that's sticking out a little bit, you need to tuck that in to get it out of the way, so just using my chain nose pliers, nice and gently, like that. And there we basically have the finished snowman. So now there's two, and then obviously all there's left to do with the loop at the top is attach it to whatever earring findings that you want to attach it to. And then you have a nice little earring set. So I really hope that you enjoyed that. Nice little quick and easy earring set to make for Christmas. And thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make these micro macrame Christmas tree earrings. And this is what they look like. So this is the earring findings at the top where they hang from. So they hang like this and dangle nicely in your ear. So then from the side they look like this. And I've obviously just added red and silver beads for the embellishment on the tree. You can add whatever you want to. But this is the earrings. So if you want to learn